I can still hear his voice, sharp, cold, cutting through me like broken glass. All you do is take. You've never given this family anything. That was my father's sentence, my father's judgment. And at that moment, I realized something I had buried for years. The man who was supposed to protect me, guide me, lift me up, had already decided that I was worthless. But if I was nothing in his eyes, why was I the one who had kept the lights on, the roof steady, the doors open? Why was I the one sacrificing while they acted as though they had built everything with their own hands? That night, something broke in me. Or maybe it woke up. Because I didn't just decide to fight back, I decided to take it all back. You see, growing up in my family, nothing was ever balanced. My brother was the golden boy. He was the star, the one they bragged about at every gathering. Every little achievement of his was magnified, praised, turned into a shining example of family pride. I, on the other hand, was the shadow in the corner. I worked, I studied, I carried weight they never even noticed. But when you are invisible to the people who are supposed to see you the clearest, your soul starts to harden in silence. Still, I kept going. I kept hoping one day they'd look at me differently. One day my father might say, "I'm proud of you." That day never came. Instead, the years piled up like bricks on my back. I worked 2 jobs in college to afford my own books, while my brother had his tuition and living expenses handed to him like a gift. I skipped meals so I could save money to help pay for utilities, yet my contributions were dismissed as if they were nothing. And every time my father looked at me, it wasn't with appreciation, it was with that same snare, like I was a burden, like I was some ungrateful leech. But what do you do when the people who owe you love repay you with contempt? Do you keep bending, or do you eventually snap? The snap came on a night I'll never forget. We were sitting at the dinner table. The air was thick with silence, the kind that buzzes in your ears. My mother passed a plate of food to my brother, smiling, asking about his day. Then she looked at me, and her face changed. My father didn't even glance up. He just said it, with a voice as casual as someone commenting on the weather. "All you do is take. You've never given this family anything." At first, I thought I misheard, but then he repeated it. The words landed like stones in my chest. And instead of defending me, my mother just looked down at her plate. No one corrected him. No one said, "That's not true." That was the moment I knew. To them, I was nothing but a wallet they never respected, a tool they never acknowledged. But here's the irony. They thought I was weak. They thought my silence meant acceptance. What they didn't know was that in my silence, I had been building something. I had been saving, investing, making plans. I had been creating my own world outside of theirs. They thought they owned me, but I had already prepared my escape. And his words didn't break me. They freed me. Because if my own father could say that to my face, then I owed them nothing anymore. Absolutely nothing. I started remembering every sacrifice I had made. The times I gave them money for bills, rent, emergencies. The nights I stayed awake finishing work just to make sure they wouldn't lose the house. The way I had covered for them when debts piled up. They told me I gave nothing, but without me, the foundation would have crumbled years ago. That realization burned inside me, turning humiliation into clarity. And clarity is dangerous, because once you see the truth, you can't go back. I didn't just want to prove them wrong. I wanted to reclaim everything they had taken for granted. My money, my dignity, my freedom. And piece by piece, I began to take it all back. The first step was subtle. I stopped giving. No more random bailouts, no more covering for their financial mistakes. I told them I was tightening my budget. My father scoffed. My brother rolled his eyes. My mother sighed. They thought I'd cave in, like always. But I didn't. And when they came back asking for help again, I said no. The shock on their faces was almost worth the years of being ignored. Almost. But I wasn't finished, because I had a bigger plan. Behind the scenes, I had been growing a business, a side hustle at first, just a way to make a little extra money. But it grew, slowly, then suddenly. What started as late nights at my laptop turned into contracts, clients, revenue. And while they were busy dismissing me, while they were busy calling me a taker, I was quietly becoming independent. Not just independent, powerful. And I told no one, because when you've been underestimated your whole life, the sweetest weapon is surprise. But here's the twist. The day came when my father needed me. Not wanted me, needed me. He had made a deal. A bad one that was about to collapse. He needed money fast. And for once, the golden boy couldn't save him. My brother had drained every resource given to him, living beyond his means, chasing illusions of success that never materialized. So where did my father turn? To me, the one who never gave this family anything. He called, his voice dripping with false humility. "Son, we're in a tough spot. We need your help. Just this once." Just this once? I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I listened. And as I listened, I realized something chilling. They never loved me for me. They only valued what I could provide. And that was when I decided I wasn't just—
The weeks after that phone call felt surreal. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for their approval. I wasn't begging for scraps of recognition. I wasn't looking for permission to breathe. I was living on my own terms. And the more distance I put between myself and their demands, the clearer everything became. Their love had always been conditional. Their acceptance had always been a transaction. I had stopped paying, and now the truth was showing its teeth. But then came the dinner, the one that changed everything. A family gathering dressed up as a reunion. My father called me, his voice unusually warm. "Come by, son. Let's have dinner as a family again. No strings attached." Against my better judgment, I went. Maybe I wanted to believe that people could change. Maybe I was curious, or maybe I just wanted to look into their eyes and see if any of it had been real. The table was set like nothing had ever happened. Laughter bounced off the walls, plates clinked, wine poured. My brother sat across from me, his grin smug, his hand resting on his father's shoulder like a claim to territory. I tried to play along, tried to keep it light, but underneath the surface, I felt the tension coil like a snake. And then, just when I thought maybe I had overreacted, my father leaned forward, his eyes narrowing, and said, "You've done well for yourself. Now it's time you gave back. Your brother needs help getting his life together. We all agreed. You're the one who should cover it." It was a trap. The whole dinner was a setup. Not an apology, not a reunion, a demand wrapped in fake smiles and warm plates of food. And when I shook my head, when I said the one word they never expected, "No," the mask slipped. My father's voice grew sharp, his face twisted with rage, and he repeated the line that had cut me open before. "All you do is take. You've never given this family anything." But this time, I didn't break. This time, I didn't sit there in silence, swallowing the pain. This time, I laughed. A bitter, broken laugh that seemed to shock the entire room into silence. And then I spoke. I laid it all out. Every bill I had paid, every sacrifice I had made, every night I had gone hungry so they wouldn't. I reminded them of the times I had saved them from losing everything. I reminded them of the years they told me I was nothing while I was the one holding their world together. And I ended with the truth that burned in my chest. You don't get to call me a taker when I was the only giver in this family. The silence that followed was suffocating. My mother's eyes filled with tears, my brother turned pale, and my father slammed his fist on the table. "This is family, not a courtroom," he roared. And that's when I knew he understood. He knew he was guilty. He just didn't want to face it.
But I wasn't interested in denial anymore. I stood up, pushed my chair back, and walked out. That night, I didn't just leave the table. I left the family behind. And life after that? It was lonely at first, quiet, strange. I had to relearn what it meant to make decisions without guilt, to succeed without shame, to exist without waiting for their approval. But the strangest thing was how light I felt, like chains had been cut from my shoulders. I poured myself into my business, and it grew, bigger than I ever imagined,